The sky was burning with streaks of red and silver. Commander Ryan Hale gripped the controls of his small starship, his heart pounding like thunder inside his chest. Warning lights flashed across the dashboard. Alarms screamed and sparks flew from broken panels. A meteor storm had come out of nowhere, tearing through space like a wave of fire. His ship, the Horizon Star, shook violently as pieces of metal ripped away into the dark void. "Come on, stay with me," Ryan whispered. His voice rough and desperate, he fought the controls, trying to keep the ship from spinning out of control. The stars outside twisted into dizzying spirals, and the oxygen meter blinked red. He pressed every button he could, trying to start the backup engines, but all he got was a burst of static and another explosion behind him. Then the ship hit something. There was a flash of light, a terrible sound of tearing metal. Ryan was thrown against the console, his vision fading. The last thing he heard before everything went black was the soft hum of the emergency beacon trying to activate. When he woke, everything was silent. The air was thick with smoke and dust, the cold cutting through his suit. He blinked slowly, his body aching, his head throbbing. Cracks of blue light came through the broken window, revealing a strange alien landscape. The sky was pale green, filled with two moons hanging side by side. The ground shimmered with strange glowing plants, their light soft and eerie. Ryan realized he was no longer in space.
He had crashed on a planet he didn't recognize.
He tried to move, wincing as pain shot through his shoulder. He looked around the wreckage, finding twisted metal, broken wires, and shattered screens. His ship was gone, half buried in mud and smoke. When he checked his oxygen level, it was at only 20%. The atmosphere outside was thin but breathable. According to the monitor, still it was freezing cold. He grabbed his emergency pack, a small flashlight, and the last thermal blanket. When he stepped outside, the air bit into his skin like knives. The landscape stretched out endlessly, hills of crystal-like stone and strange glowing trees swaying without wind. It was both beautiful and haunting. Ryan looked up at the two moons again. One blue, one orange. He had studied hundreds of planets, but this one wasn't in any map. He started walking, hoping to find shelter before night fell. Every sound echoed, his boots crunching on the glassy soil, the hiss of his damaged oxygen tank. He tried his radio, but all he heard was static. He shouted into the empty air, "This is Commander Hale of the United Space Division. Is anyone receiving?" No answer, only the soft hum of alien life around him. Hours passed, the sky growing darker, the temperature dropping lower. Ryan's flashlight flickered, and he felt the fear slowly rising in his chest. If he didn't find warmth soon, he wouldn't make it through the night. He stumbled over rocks and strange roots, his breath visible in the cold. Just when he thought he couldn't go on, he saw something in the distance, a faint light, pulsing softly through the fog. At first, he thought it was his imagination, but the light was moving steady and slow. Like a torch or fire, he began walking toward it, his boots slipping on the uneven ground. Every few steps he looked around, feeling eyes watching him from the shadows. There were sounds, soft, quick movements, whispers carried by the cold wind. Something was following him. Ryan gripped his flashlight tighter and whispered, "Come on, Hale, don't lose it now." The light grew stronger, revealing a narrow path leading into a forest of glowing trees. The trees looked alive, their bark shifting with soft blue veins of light. As he entered, the air grew warmer, and the strange scent of flowers filled the air. He could feel his heart beating faster, not from fear, but from the feeling of being watched. Then he saw her. At the end of the glowing path stood a figure, a woman or something like one. She was tall, her skin pale blue and shining softly under the twin moons. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, and her eyes glowed faintly gold. She was holding a weapon, small but sharp-looking. Aimed directly at him, Ryan froze, raising his hand slowly. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. His voice shaking, the alien woman tilted her head, studying him with unreadable eyes. Then she lowered the weapon just slightly. She stepped closer, her gaze curious. "You, human?" she asked, her voice soft but strong. Ryan nodded slowly, unsure if she was real or a dream. She looked at him for a long moment, then turned and gestured toward the forest. "Come," she said, her accent strange but clear. "Cold comes soon." Ryan hesitated, but the air was growing colder by the second. He followed her into the glowing forest, his mind racing. Who was she? How did she know his language? And why did he feel like something much bigger was waiting for him ahead? As they disappeared into the light, The shadows behind them moved again. Something else had been watching, silent and patient. And as the alien woman led Ryan deeper into the forest, the first snow of the alien night began to fall. The glowing forest surrounded Ryan like a dream he couldn't wake from. Every tree shimmered with soft blue light. Every leaf seemed alive, breathing in silence. He followed the alien woman through winding paths, her long silver hair glowing faintly in the darkness. The air was thick and warm here, filled with strange energy that made his skin tingle. Behind them, the wind howled softly through the broken hills, carrying whispers that sounded almost human. Ryan's heart was still racing, his mind struggling to believe what he was seeing. He had trained for first contact, had read 1,000 theories about alien life, but none of them prepared him for this. A real alien standing right before him, graceful and fierce. Every step she took was calm and confident, as if the forest itself bent to her will. She finally stopped at the entrance of a glowing cave carved deep into a stone cliff. Inside, warm light flickered from crystals embedded in the walls. Glowing like amber fire, Ryan hesitated, looking around nervously. The woman turned and gestured toward the entrance.
"Inside," she said simply, her voice soft but firm.
"You safe here?" He stepped in carefully, his boots crunching on the smooth stone floor. The cave opened into a large chamber filled with warmth. Strange plants grew from cracks in the ground, releasing a golden mist that felt almost soothing. Ryan could finally breathe without shaking, his body trembling from exhaustion and cold. He dropped his pack and leaned against the wall, closing his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, the alien woman was watching him closely. Her golden eyes glowed in the light, curious and sharp. She was beautiful in a way that made Ryan forget where he was. Not human beauty, but something deeper, untamed and powerful. She spoke slowly, her words broken but understandable. "You crash. From sky," she said, touching her chest lightly. "I see fire." Ryan nodded. "Yeah, my ship went down during the storm," he said, breathing heavily. "Thank you for helping me." The woman tilted her head slightly, as if studying his tone rather than his words. "Human alone," she said quietly. "Cold kills alone." Her words sent a shiver down his spine. He looked around the cave, noticing that it was furnished, not naturally, but built. There was a bed-like platform made of woven vines, a fire pit made of smooth stone. This wasn't just a shelter. It was a home. She lived here, alone, in this strange, glowing world. He slowly reached into his pack and pulled out a small energy bar. "Food," he said, offering it to her. She looked at it suspiciously, then took it, sniffing the wrapper before taking a small bite. Her expression softened and she gave a small nod. "Sweet," she said simply, and handed the rest back to him. Ryan smiled weakly. "Yeah, it's human food." For a while they sat in silence. The only sounds were the crackle of the fire and the faint hum of the glowing walls. Ryan wanted to ask 100 questions: who she was, why she spoke his language, what planet this was. But he stayed quiet. Something about her made him cautious. Then she spoke again, her voice softer. "You stay here tonight," she said, her eyes locking on his, but she paused, searching for the right words. "You sleep beside me." Ryan blinked, sure he had misunderstood. "Beside you?" he repeated, his heart suddenly thumping harder. The alien woman nodded once, her expression unreadable. "Fire warm, but not enough," she said. "Body warm better." She stood up slowly, her silhouette glowing in the firelight, and turned toward the bed of vines. "You cold. Human weak in night," she added, her tone calm and certain. Ryan hesitated, looking at the floor, trying to understand. Was this a survival custom? A gesture of trust? He didn't want to offend her, not when she'd saved his life. He finally nodded. "All right," he said softly. "If it keeps us alive." The alien woman said nothing, but there was a faint, almost invisible smile on her lips. She lay down gracefully, motioning for him to do the same. Ryan moved closer, careful not to touch her. He could feel the warmth radiating from her skin like gentle heat from sunlight. It wasn't just warmth, it was energy, alive and steady. He tried to stay awake, but exhaustion pulled him under as his eyes closed. He heard her whisper something in her language, soft and musical. He couldn't understand the words, but they sounded almost like a prayer before sleep took him. He thought he heard her say quietly, "Human heart strong, but fragile." Outside, the wind howled across the alien hills. The glowing trees swayed gently, casting shifting shadows at the cave's mouth. Something large moved in the forest, watching the cave with silent, Waiting eyes, the night grew colder, the stars brighter, and the sound of distant thunder echoed in the valley. But inside there was only warmth. 2 lives from 2 worlds resting side by side, unaware that this strange meeting would change both of them forever. When morning came, the first light of the twin suns crept through the cracks of the glowing cave. Ryan stirred slowly, feeling warmth against his shoulder. For a moment he forgot where he was. He thought he was back on Earth, waking up after another long mission. But when he opened his eyes, the truth returned like a shock through his veins. Beside him lay the alien woman, her blue skin glowing softly in the morning light. Her silver hair spread across the woven bed like liquid moonlight. Her breathing was slow and steady, her face calm and peaceful. Ryan stayed still, not wanting to wake her, unsure what to say or do. He could still feel the faint heat radiating from her body, like a natural blanket that had saved him from the deadly cold. He sat up quietly, his gaze moving toward the cave entrance outside. The world looked both beautiful and dangerous. Strange flying creatures circled the twin suns, and the glowing forest shimmered like an ocean of light. Ryan took a deep breath, trying to remember his training. He needed to find his beacon, fix it, and send a distress signal. But a voice behind him stopped his thoughts. "You go?" the alien woman asked softly, her tone unreadable. Ryan turned to see her sitting up, her golden eyes calm but sharp. "I need to find my ship," he said. "I can't stay here forever." She tilted her head slightly, her long fingers tracing the air as if drawing invisible lines. "Your ship, broken," she said. "No leave soon?" Ryan nodded reluctantly. "Maybe not today, but I'll find a way." The alien stood, her tall frame moving gracefully across the room. She poured a liquid from a crystal bowl into 2 small cups made of carved bone. "Drink," she said simply, handing one to him. Ryan sniffed it cautiously. It smelled like mint and smoke. He took a sip and warmth spread through his chest instantly. "Thank you," he said, his voice softer now. For a moment neither spoke. The fire between them crackled quietly, and Ryan noticed her studying him again. There was curiosity in her gaze, but also something else, something deeper. Finally, she broke the silence. "You human," she said slowly. "You fight storm. You live." Her eyes softened slightly. "Strong heart." Ryan smiled a little. "Maybe just lucky," he said, but she shook her head. "Not luck," she whispered. "Spirit." Then she turned away, walking toward the far end of the cave where glowing stones lined the walls. After a long pause, she said something that made Ryan's heart skip. "You can stay here," she said, her tone calm and serious, "but—" She looked over her shoulder. "You'll sleep beside me." Ryan froze, caught off guard again by the same words from the night before. He blinked, unsure if she was teasing him or testing him. I don't understand," he said carefully. "Why me?" "Why, beside you?" She stepped closer, her expression steady but her voice softer. "This planet," she said, touching the wall with her hand. "Cold at night. More cold coming." Her fingers glowed faintly against the stone. "Alone you die." Then she looked directly into his eyes, her golden pupils glowing brighter. "But not only cold," she added. "Dark things wake when suns sleep," Ryan frowned. "Dark things?" She nodded slowly. "Hunters," she whispered. "They smell fear, they find warmth." The air in the cave grew heavier with her words. Ryan remembered the sounds from the night before, the whispers, the movement in the trees. He felt a chill crawl up his spine. "You stay close," she said. "You live." Her tone wasn't an invitation. It was a command, but behind her strength, Ryan sensed something else, worry, maybe even fear. He didn't know if it was for him or for herself. Either way, her words carried weight. He looked around the cave again, realizing how isolated this place truly was. He had no radio, no working ship, and no idea how far from home he'd come. His only chance of survival rested with this strange, beautiful alien who spoke his language and understood his weakness. He nodded slowly. "All right," he said. "I'll stay." Her expression softened, almost a smile, but not quite. "Good," she said quietly. "You safe here?" As the day passed, she showed him how to use the glowing plants for warmth. She taught him which fruits were safe to eat and which would burn his tongue. Ryan listened carefully, fascinated by her knowledge and the way she moved through her world like she belonged to every piece of it. Every time she spoke, her voice carried both command and calm. And though he didn't understand everything, he understood enough. She was not just a survivor. She was the last of something ancient. When night returned, The air outside turned bitter cold again. The two moons rose over the forest, and the strange sounds returned from the darkness. Ryan sat by the fire, his thoughts racing. The alien woman lay beside him again, her warmth spreading through the blanket. Outside something howled, a low, deep sound that made his skin crawl. He looked toward the entrance, fear flashing in his eyes. But she placed her hand gently on his arm and whispered, "Do not fear, human, you stay close. You safe." Her touch was firm but comforting. Ryan slowly relaxed, listening to the steady rhythm of her breathing. He didn't know if he could trust her completely. But in that moment, surrounded by cold and darkness, he realized something. He had crashed on a world he didn't understand. But maybe, just maybe, fate had brought him exactly where he needed to be. Outside, the forest whispered. The hunters prowled. But inside the glowing cave, two hearts from different worlds shared the same fragile warmth. And as the night grew long, the bond between them quietly began to form, a bond that neither time nor distance could easily break. The fire crackled softly in the heart of the glowing cave, sending flickers of golden blue across the smooth stone walls. Ryan sat close to the flames, holding a small crystal in his hand, the one the alien woman, Lirana, had given him earlier. It shimmered faintly with inner light, warming his palm without heat. He had never seen anything like it, yet here it felt normal, as if this strange world followed rules he could not understand. Outside, the twin moons hung high, one glowing orange, the other blue, painting the forest in shades of mystery every now and then. Distant howls echoed through the valley, low and drawn out like the cries of something ancient. Ryan felt the sound in his bones. He looked toward the cave entrance, his nerves tight. Lirana was sitting quietly nearby, her golden eyes reflecting the flames, her long silver hair glowing faintly in the light. "You hear that?" Ryan asked softly. She nodded once, her voice calm but firm. "Hunters," she said. "They wake when dark comes." Ryan's throat went dry. "And they come here?" She shook her head slowly. "They fear light," she said, glancing at the glowing crystals. "But they watch." He turned the crystal in his hand again, trying to focus on its glow instead of the darkness outside. "So," he said, forcing a small smile, "you really live here all alone?" Her gaze shifted to him, her expression thoughtful. "Long time," she said simply. "Others gone." "Gone where?" Ryan asked gently. She hesitated for a moment before whispering, "Dead." The word hung in the air like smoke. Ryan didn't know what to say. He felt a sharp sting in his chest. Pity, confusion, and respect all at once. He looked into her eyes and saw something hidden behind her strength. A quiet sorrow. She had been alone on this planet for who knew how long. He wanted to ask more, but her gaze turned toward the fire again, signaling the end of the question. Silence filled the cave, broken only by the steady crackle of the fire. Ryan leaned back, pulling the thin blanket over himself. The air outside grew colder, frost creeping slowly across the rocks near the cave entrance. He shivered even though the fire still burned. Lirana noticed, her golden eyes narrowing slightly. "You cold again," she said, almost like a statement. Ryan rubbed his hands together, forcing a grin. "A little," he admitted. "We humans aren't made for this kind of chill." Without another word, Lirana rose and walked closer, her movements silent and fluid like flowing water. She sat down beside him, close enough for him to feel her body warmth. "Better," she said simply, her tone calm but gentle. Ryan froze for a moment, unsure what to do. He could feel the heat radiating from her skin. Warm and steady, almost soothing, her presence felt both powerful and peaceful, like standing near a living flame. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Better." The wind outside howled again, carrying strange whispers that made the cave walls hum. Ryan tensed, but Lirana didn't move. Her expression remained calm, her hand resting on the ground near his. When the howling faded, she spoke again, her voice soft but distant. "You think of home," she said. "I see it in your eyes." Ryan looked down, caught off guard. "Yeah," he said, "Earth. Blue skies, warm sun, people." Morning came quietly on the alien world. Golden light poured through the entrance of the cave. Touching the stone walls with warmth, Ryan woke to the sound of soft humming, a strange melody that echoed gently through the chamber. He opened his eyes and saw Lirana standing near the fire pit, her long hair catching the light like silver threads. She was holding a small orb in her hands, glowing faintly blue, the light pulsing like a heartbeat. Ryan sat up slowly, watching her in silence. She seemed lost in thought, her expression distant. her voice soft as she sang to the orb. When she noticed him awake, the humming stopped, and she quickly placed the orb inside a stone container near the wall. "You sleep long," she said quietly, her golden eyes meeting his. "Human need much rest." Ryan rubbed his neck and smiled weakly. "Guess I do." He glanced toward the orb, curiosity burning in his mind. "What was that?" he asked. "The thing you were holding." Lirana paused for a long moment before answering. "Memory," she said finally. "Old one." Ryan tilted his head. "Memory? Like a recording?" She nodded, walking toward the entrance and looking out at the bright forest. "My people keep memories in light," she said. "When body gone, light stays." Her voice softened even more. "But many lights, gone now." He followed her gaze to the distance. From the edge of the forest he could see broken towers rising from the mist. Ruins ancient and silent, scattered across the valley like the bones of a forgotten civilization. "What happened here?" Ryan asked quietly. Lirana's shoulders tensed, and for a moment she said nothing. Finally she whispered, "Humans." The word hit Ryan like a blade of ice. He blinked. "Humans?" Lirana turned to him, her eyes no longer warm but sharp with sorrow. "Yes," she said, "long ago, your kind came from Sky. They bring trade, talk, promise." Her voice trembled slightly, but with them came sickness. Sickness our bodies could not fight. Ryan's heart sank. She turned away, looking at the distant ruins, her expression filled with pain and memory. "My people trusted," she said. "We shared knowledge, food, life." Her hands clenched tightly. "Then we died one by one, until only few left." She looked down at her hands, the light from her skin flickering weakly. "Now only me," she said quietly. "Last of my home." Silence filled the cave. Ryan felt the weight of her words press against his chest. He wanted to say something. Anything, but no words came. He was one man, one survivor, but somehow he carried the guilt of his entire race. He finally whispered, "I didn't know." "We didn't know." Lirana looked at him again, her expression softening slightly. "Not you," she said. "Not all humans same." Then, almost as if she regretted showing her pain, she turned back toward the forest. "I save you because heart said yes," she added. "Because maybe not all light gone yet." Ryan stood beside her, his eyes tracing the horizon. The twin suns hung above the broken city like silent witnesses of time. The ground shimmered faintly with a strange golden dust that floated upward. "What is that?" he asked. "Memory dust," she replied. "Old souls." She reached out her hand, letting a few particles land on her palm. "They watch," she whispered. "They remember." For a while neither spoke. The forest around them seemed to breathe, alive with quiet energy. Ryan felt both small and connected to everything at once. He looked at Lirana, realizing how much she carried alone: grief, history, and hope. And yet she had chosen to save him, a human, the same kind of being who once destroyed her world. Later, as they returned to the cave, Ryan tried to change the topic. He needed to understand her, but also to keep her from fading into sadness. "How did you learn my language?" he asked. Lirana smiled faintly. "Your words, old but still in memory light." She touched the crystal orb again. "I listen many times, I learn." Her eyes glowed gently. "Now I use for talk," Ryan nodded slowly. Amazed even through the ruins of her world, she had built connection again. "Maybe," he said quietly. "Humans and your people weren't so different after all." Lirana looked at him for a long moment, then said softly, "Different stars, same hearts." Outside, clouds began to gather, covering the suns in gray shadow. The wind grew colder, carrying the distant rumble of thunder. Lirana frowned, her body tensing. "Storm coming," she said quickly. "Not like before." Ryan looked out nervously. "Can the cave hold?" She shook her head. "This one not safe, we go deeper." Together they began packing supplies, glowing stones, dried fruits, small tools. As Ryan helped her, his mind kept returning to her words. The sickness, the lost people, the memories in light. He understood now why she lived so far from the ruins, why she feared the dark, and why she clung to warmth so fiercely. As the storm clouds rolled in, the forest lights dimmed. Thunder roared across the mountains. Shaking the air, Ryan looked at Lirana, her face illuminated by the blue glow of the crystals. "You saved me," he said, "even after what happened." She met his eyes, her expression unreadable. "Maybe saving one," she said softly. "Saves all." The first drops of glowing rain began to fall outside, and as they moved deeper into the tunnels, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that this planet still held secrets yet to be uncovered. Secrets buried not just in ruins, but in her heart too. And as the storm raged across the sky, the fragile bond between human and alien grew stronger, forged not by words but by the shared silence of survival. The storm had not stopped for 2 days outside. The alien sky boiled with lightning that burned green and white. The sound of thunder rolled endlessly across the horizon, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Inside the deep tunnel, Ryan and Lirana sat near a flickering fire. The glow of the blue crystals mixed with the orange flame, painting their faces with light and shadow. Ryan stared at the storm through a narrow crack in the stone. Every flash of lightning reminded him of the moment his ship had fallen. His life before this, his missions, his friends, his orders felt like a dream now. All that existed was this cave, this storm, and the alien woman who sat across from him, silent and watchful. Lirana was mending something with delicate hands, a torn piece of Ryan's flight suit, stitched together with thin glowing fibers from the forest vines. "You strong," she said after a while, not looking up. "Most humans I see in memory, they not last this long." Ryan smiled faintly. "Maybe I'm too stubborn to die." She tilted her head and gave a soft, almost playful smile. "Maybe," she whispered. "Or maybe you find reason not to." Her words hung between them like invisible threads. Ryan felt a warmth inside that had nothing to do with the fire. He wanted to ask her what she meant, but before he could, his wrist communicator beeped faintly. He froze, eyes wide. Lirana looked up immediately, her expression turning serious. "What is that?" Ryan held up the small cracked device, its light blinking weakly. "It's my distress beacon," he said, his voice trembling with surprise. "It's working again." He tapped the screen, and the static cleared just enough to hear a faint voice. "This is the USD patrol vessel Nova Strike responding to emergency signal. Identify coordinates." Ryan's heart skipped. He pressed the button, shouting, "This is Commander Ryan Hale. I'm alive. I repeat, alive. I'm on." But before he could finish, the signal broke into static again. Lirana stood slowly, her eyes glowing brighter. "Others coming?" she asked, her tone calm but sharp. Ryan nodded quickly, excitement filling his chest. "Yes, my crew might find me. I can go home." But as he looked at her, the joy faded into silence. Her expression was unreadable, but her hands trembled slightly. "Your people come here again," she said, her voice low. "What they do if they find me?" Ryan hesitated, his throat tight. They won't hurt you," he said softly. "I'll explain. I'll protect you." She looked at him sadly. "Explain, not change fear," she whispered. "Humans see me. They remember disease, war. They shoot first." The fire crackled quietly between them. Ryan opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. He knew she might be right. Humanity had not always been kind to what it feared. After a long silence, Lirana stood and walked to the tunnel wall. She touched one of the glowing crystals, and the light pulsed softly under her hand. "This world's safe for me," she said quietly. "Not for you." She turned to him, her golden eyes shimmering. "If you leave, you go home," she paused. "If you stay, you stay forever." Ryan felt the air grow heavy, his thoughts spinning like the storm outside. "Forever?" he repeated quietly. Lirana nodded slowly. "Yes. Your ship gone. Your signal bring humans. They take you. They not take me." She took a step closer, her voice softer now. "But if you stay, I keep you safe, I keep you warm." Her hand brushed his arm lightly, her skin glowing against his. The touch was gentle, full of life. Ryan felt his heartbeat rise, his mind fighting between reason and emotion. He looked into her eyes and saw not just beauty, but loneliness, years of silence and survival. She was the last of her kind, and yet she had chosen to save him. Could he really leave her behind? The communicator beeped again, louder this time. "Commander Hale, this is Nova Strike. We have your signal approaching your coordinates." Lirana flinched, stepping back, her face shadowed with fear. "They come," she whispered. "They find this place. Maybe destroy." Ryan looked between her and the glowing light of his beacon. 2 worlds, 2 lives, 1 impossible choice. He turned the device in his hand. the light blinking faster now. His breath came slow, heavy. He looked at Lirana, who stood silently, her eyes glistening with emotion she didn't show. He took a deep breath. "Lirana," he said, "when I crashed here, I thought I lost everything." He stepped closer. "But maybe I found something I didn't know I needed." She looked up at him, her voice trembling. What is that?" He smiled softly. "A reason to stay." For a long moment, neither moved. The fire crackled softly, and outside, the thunder began to fade. The storm was ending, but something else had begun. Ryan took the communicator, stared at it one last time, then turned it off. The light went dark, and silence filled the cave. Lirana's eyes widened, a single tear glowing faintly as it slid down her cheek. "You choose," she whispered. "You stay." Ryan nodded slowly, his voice calm. "Yes, I stay." She reached out and took his hand, pressing it against her heart. Her skin was warm, alive, and steady. "Then you are part of this world now," she said softly. "You no longer lost." Outside, the last of the storm clouds drifted away. The twin suns broke through, bathing the valley in golden light. And deep within the glowing tunnels, two souls, human and alien, stood side by side. One had found a home, the other had found a heart, and together, they waited for the dawn of a new beginning. The night faded slowly. The last echoes of the storm drifted away across the alien valley, leaving behind only silence and the scent of wet earth. The twin suns began to rise again, spreading soft gold and pale blue light across the forest of glowing trees. The world seemed reborn, washed clean by the storm inside the cave. Ryan opened his eyes to the gentle warmth of morning light. Lirana sat beside the dying fire, her eyes fixed on the entrance. The light caught her face, making her skin shimmer like liquid starlight. She looked peaceful, yet her gaze was far away, lost in thoughts that Ryan could only guess. He sat up slowly, rubbing his tired eyes. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The silence between them was not empty. It was full, heavy with everything that had been said and everything that hadn't. Finally, Ryan broke it, his voice low and calm. "They'll come looking," he said. "Even if I turned the beacon off, they'll search." Lirana didn't look at him, but he saw her lips tighten slightly. "Yes," she said quietly. "Humans not forget their own." Her golden eyes shifted toward the horizon, where smoke still rose faintly from the wreckage of his ship. "But they not find this place," she added, her tone filled with quiet certainty. "Forest protect, light hide." Ryan nodded slowly, his gaze following hers. He felt a strange peace settling inside him. A decision made, a path chosen. Still, a part of him wondered what would happen if the rescue ships did find this world. Would they see her as he did, or as a threat to be studied, captured, or destroyed? He couldn't take that risk. He had chosen to stay, and now he would protect her. Just as she had protected him, he walked toward the entrance. Breathing in the fresh morning air, the twin suns warmed his face, the sky stretching wide and endless. For the first time in his life, he felt truly free. No orders, no commands, no mission, only life, pure and raw, behind him. He heard soft footsteps. Lirana came to stand beside him, her presence calm and steady. "You miss your world," she said, more as a statement than a question. Ryan smiled faintly. "Maybe," he replied. "But my world wasn't kind, not like this." She tilted her head slightly. "Your people strong, build much," she said. "But sometimes they forget what heart is." Ryan nodded. "Yeah," he said softly. "Maybe that's why I was meant to crash here." A gentle wind swept through the valley, carrying tiny glowing particles of golden dust. They floated between them like fireflies, swirling and dancing in the air. Lirana reached out, catching a few in her hand. "Old souls," she whispered. "They come when sky clear. They listen." She looked at Ryan, her eyes shining. "Now they see you too," he smiled. "Then I hope they approve." She smiled faintly in return, a rare softness touching her features. For a long moment, they stood together in silence, watching the twin suns climb higher. The light made the valley look almost alive, the ruins glimmering like silver bones beneath waves of golden mist. Later that day, Ryan helped Lirana carry the memory orbs deeper into the tunnels. They arranged them carefully on stone shelves, each one glowing with faint light. Lirana explained that these orbs held the stories, voices and faces of her people. When Ryan touched one gently, images flickered in his mind. Cities floating above oceans. Laughter, music, light. He saw her world as it once was, alive and bright before it fell silent. Tears burned in his eyes, and he whispered, "They were beautiful." She nodded, her voice soft. "They still are." In light, as the day faded, the two sat outside the cave. Watching the sun sink behind the distant hills, the sky turned deep violet, and stars began to bloom across it like flowers. Ryan leaned back, his head resting against the stone. "Lirana," he said quietly, "what happens now?" She looked at him, her eyes reflecting the stars. "Now you live," she said simply. "You learn this world, make it yours too." He turned toward her, his voice gentle. "And you?" She smiled faintly. "I'm not alone now," she said. "So I live too." The last light of day fell across them, and for a moment everything was still. No fear, no past, no future. Just two souls sharing the quiet heartbeat of a world reborn. As darkness settled, Ryan looked at her again. "Back on Earth," he said softly. "We had a saying, home is where the heart is." Lirana tilted her head curiously. "Heart decides home." He nodded. "Yeah, it does." She reached out and touched his chest gently, right where his heart beat strong beneath his ribs. "Then your heart here now," she said softly. "With me?" He smiled, his eyes bright in the dim light. "Yes," he whispered, "with you." The twin moons rose again, casting silver light across the valley. The wind moved through the glowing trees, carrying a song only they could hear. Far above them, the stars shimmered, cold, distant but beautiful. And somewhere out there, a human ship searched for one of their own, but he had already been found as the night deepened. Ryan and Lirana sat side by side, the firelight dancing across their faces. Two hearts from two worlds, bound not by destiny or fate, but by choice. And as the first light of a new dawn touched the horizon, he looked at her and whispered, "I'm home." The world answered with silence, soft and eternal, the silence of peace, of love, of a new beginning beneath the twin suns of an alien sky.